Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor, and sometimes I get vehicles that I don't look forward to shooting the review on. Vehicles that are fine, but there is an almost intangible feeling around them where I just wouldn't recommend it. Something like the GMC Acadia that we reviewed a few months ago. The car looks great, it drove fine, plenty of space, lots of good options, it was cool, but you can't help but drive so many new vehicles and then get into that and feel there's something wrong here. There's a reason why I wouldn't go for it. And I don't like shooting those reviews because it's kind of a lose-lose situation for me. Either I say the car's great and then people go out and buy it and then it breaks, or they don't have a good ownership experience, or I say the car is bad and then people get frustrated with me for saying that the car is bad. However, this new redesigned 2026 Subaru Outback is not that case. I am looking forward to shooting this review because there is a lot to talk about, and overall, I like this car. Now, if you do follow along for the rest of the video, you will see I rattle off a number of cons here for the first portion, and those are less of reasons not to buy the car and more of things that Subaru can improve upon when the mid-cycle refresh comes out on this Outback in a number of years. Now, another reason I was excited to review this new, entirely redesigned Outback is because the Subaru Outback Wilderness that we reviewed a number of years ago is my most disliked video here on Daily Motor, both the review and then especially the fuel economy test. And I still stand by that. I don't think the previous generation Outback, especially the Wilderness model, was a good car to buy. It wasn't a bad car, but there were frustrations about it, and there were other cars that would most likely be better for most people buying that vehicle. However, I feel that Subaru has improved upon majority of the aspects of that vehicle. I still think the non-Wilderness trims are a better buy than the Wilderness options. Now, don't get me wrong, the Wilderness version is higher up, it is more capable off-road, but I just don't think that's the best vehicle option for most people. However, this touring model that it costs a reasonable price, this one $47,000, getting a little up there, but still below the average new car transaction price for vehicles here in America in 2026. It still has all-wheel drive, it still has a significant amount of ground clearance, and it has so many features that are going to come in handy and be nice to have throughout your day-to-day driving, and it gets remarkably good fuel economy for what it is. So if you do want to see more on this new Outback, check the link below. We've got a dedicated highway fuel economy test, we have a dedicated review on the 12-speaker Harman Kardon audio system in here, and we even have a breakdown on the new infotainment system. So before we do get into the pros and cons, let's take another look around it. Now, the styling is a little bit out for debate right now. I still can't decide if I like it or not. My wife, Alyssa, walked by the car and she said, "Oh, that thing looks really cool. Doesn't really look like an Outback anymore." And I said, that is a good point. It doesn't really. I'm not sold on the front design language, but I do overall like the chunkiness and the boxiness, and it still does look like a Subaru. Don't mind the plastic cladding on a car like this. And overall, I do still really like the proportions. I think this style and layout and size of vehicle makes a lot of sense for a lot of people. It's kind of like a wagon that isn't a wagon. And I know the Outback used to be a wagon, now you could argue it's more like an SUV, but I still think it has a lot of wagon attributes. Power and open the rear liftgate here. You see a nice low load surface. It's going just above my knee. I mean, quite low. We've got a rugged mat here that comes with the car. We've got side pockets, side pocket, I should say, with a net. We've got a 12-volt power outlet. We've got places to hang your grocery bags, unless you live in California and you're getting paper bags now, because those will probably rip. You do still have a spare tire underneath here, thank goodness for that. And something really subtle, but something I really appreciate, you can fold the seats down from the back. That's something that if you kind of get something large in here and you're like, oh no, I need to fold the seats, being able to just go boom, 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 and then they're folded, fantastic. And then this is a nearly flat load surface. You could totally camp in here, you could sleep in here, you could lay out long items. Very nice layout, very well thought out here. You can tell that Subaru understands the mission for what a lot of people are using their vehicles for. Bunch of sidewall on these tires. What are we running here? Dunlop Grand Trek PT20s. Okay, never heard of that tire, but they're probably fine. Nice wheel option on this touring model. The doors could open a little wider if you're loading a rear-facing car seat in here, which I have done this week. You might want a little bit more width, but once you do get in here and do get the car seats in here, there are tons of space. Latch anchors are easy to get to, and coming in here as a 5'10" adult, I've got acres of knee room. This seat is set for my height. Interestingly, the rear seats are reclined a decent bit back, so I feel like I'm leaning too far back. I like to sit pretty upright, and it doesn't seem... Oh, you can adjust the seats. Okay, so you can do that, and then I actually am sitting quite comfortably, so I take that back. You can adjust the seat recline. Good news there. Look at this, though. Multiple seat back pockets, and this is kind of what I was getting at the beginning of the video. We're going to reflect upon this theme more and more throughout the review, but so many seat back pockets. One right here, and then sort of this split 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I was reviewing a car recently, I think it was the Nissan Sentra, no seat back pockets. And you might think, oh, that's silly, Charlie. How does that reflect upon the value of the car? What it shows is that there are tiny elements that most people wouldn't notice on the Outback that they've still included and haven't decided to try to shave little pennies off of here and there that other vehicles have decided to eschew to save a little bit of money. On top of that, you have auto up and down windows on all of the windows around the car. So even back here, I can auto up and auto down, which again, a lot of new vehicles getting rid of that again to save a little bit of money. And then also back here, you've got heated seats for the rear outboard seats. You've got air vents and you've got power points and a flip down armrest with some grippy cup holders. So a lot of niceties around the rear of the cabin. On top of that, in this touring model, we've got Napa leather. That looks really nice. I like this dark brown. I like this kind of textured carpet. Now, I would get some rugged mats. We would typically have a Lace Fit sponsorship for this video, but the mats are on pre-order, so we weren't able to get them in time. Then coming into the front, a significantly redesigned front area compared to the outgoing Outback. Now look at this. You've got adjustable thigh support for the seats. Of course, multiple seat adjustments there, lumbar, etc. And then look at this entirely new front area. You've got a big old screen, just over 12 inches. Like I said, we have a dedicated review on this. Just over 12 inches for the gauge cluster screen as well. Physical climate controls, amen to that. Love seeing that. Still physical controls on the steering wheel, physical volume adjustment, camera rear view mirror, a nice, quick, easy to open sunshade for the sunroof. Other than that, pretty straightforward interior. So let's get right on here to my pros and cons. And again, starting out with the cons, many of them are nitpicks. Overall, I'm quite a fan of this car. But first off, despite having so many seat adjustments and having adjustable thigh support, I still have not managed to stay comfortable in the driver's seat. Now, we run every vehicle that we get essentially on our highway fuel economy test, where I spend an hour and a half in the seat, drive 100 miles, steady state, test the fuel economy, and I couldn't get the driver's seat low enough, and there was something to do with the way that the kind of back bottom of the seat was designed. I was mildly to moderately uncomfortable by the end of that drive, and I don't quite understand why. Part of it, though, is I just, much like the Crosstrek that we had last week, I would like to have the seat lower. I feel like I'm sitting too upright. Now I'm looking down at the steering wheel, blocking off my gauges. I would like to get the seat significantly lower. I would be more comfortable that way. I don't understand why Subarus insist on having the seats so high up. Next con, again, super subtle, but the sunshade's on here. This little rinky-dink plastic bit that just slides out and barely blocks any of the sun. It's getting harder to excuse that here in 2026. Just give us one of the type of sliders that the whole thing slides and blocks the window properly, rather than this little sad effort right here. Next, I am so thankful that Subaru has improved upon their infotainment system. However, now with this new design, it's too far away from the driver. So if I'm sitting here comfortably, safely away from the steering wheel, driving along, I can't reach and touch the screen without leaning forward from my seat and then getting away from my comfortable position, tapping on the screen and coming back. Same thing with the volume knob. It's too far away, especially for the passenger, to have to lean forward and adjust it. Now, you could argue it'd be more useful to have the volume over here, where the passenger could more easily reach it, because the driver has adjustments on the steering wheel. So disappointing that despite a better infotainment system now, it's more difficult to use and to reach to. On top of that, you've got these physical climate controls, which fantastic, definitely going to mention those in the pros, but right here is this nice temperature adjustment which feels almost identical to the volume adjustment. And you got to consider, when are you typically adjusting volume? Okay, it's when you're coming into a parking lot or you're doing something else where you need to turn the music up or down. You've got your eyes on the road. It'd be nice to be able to just reach down and adjust the volume. Well, multiple times throughout my time with the vehicle, I've reached down, turned this knob, and I've adjusted my climate, whereas I would have to lean forward and look to where I am to adjust the volume. So I don't have necessarily a suggestion other than that's just something that something you have to consider, is you're gonna accidentally adjust your temperature when meaning to adjust volume. Next con, the voice commands. Overall, this infotainment system works significantly better than the previous Starlink system. However, the voice commands are still remarkably rudimentary compared to so many newer systems. I mean, we're talking about cars like Tesla where you can have the AI built in, the car will drive you. You're talking about cars with Google AI, Google Gemini built in, where you can ask it any sort of question and it reaches the internet and answers it for you. Even the Kia K4 that we drove last year had their own built-in AI system that could answer complex questions. Whereas this one, you can say, "What's the weather tomorrow?"
Sorry, the requested feature doesn't exist. Please say help for a list of available commands. Cancel it.
So you can't even ask this thing what the weather is tomorrow. Now, fortunately, it does respond quickly. So if I wanted to do something like tune to Sirius XM channel 45.
Okay, turning to channel 45.
Yeah, so I mean, that works. And you can do things like adjust the temperature and you can navigate, but still, navigation is rudimentary. It's still that old style where you have to say, select, do you want to travel here to blah, 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 blah. And you have to say yes. You can't just say yeah or sure or anything like that. So despite being a new and better infotainment system, it's still quite a few steps behind from the class leaders. Now, that being said, most people are just going to pair up their iPhone or their Android, and they're going to use Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, so that remedies that for the most part. And I can't particularly blame Subaru for just leaning into that aspect. Next con. While I like the interior overall, especially from a design standpoint, I would like more useful, usable space inside this car. Now, it's one thing, something like a Crosstrek, where it's probably just going to be driven by one person, maybe two, minimal stuffage. But as you get into a car of this size, you're going to be taking road trips. You're going to have people in the back. You're going to want places for drinks and books and sunglasses and snacks and phones. All of those things are going to clutter up this cabin very, very quickly. You've got minimal space to put stuff. These cup holders aren't particularly large. These door pockets are very, very small. So where am I supposed to fill this up with space and with stuff? Now, I am glad that they gave at least the tiniest bit of cargo area right here so somebody sitting in the passenger seat could put their phone in front of them. But in general, I would like to see a much better utilization of this space, because look at all this dead space that's just plastic, essentially. You could move these buttons maybe up here or maybe over here, and then, I mean, yeah, the shifter's probably going to have to stay here, but then open this all up and give us a spot to put things, and build the wireless device charger into a little shelf, and then give us storage space under the wireless device charger. There are reasons that people really appreciate those cars that just have big cargo areas right here, because people have stuff. The next con coming out here on the highway is the Subaru EyeSight active lane keeping functionality. Compared to many competitors on the road today, this is not a trouble-free and intuitive active lane keeping. Perfect example, that Honda right in front of us, or this Tesla on the other side of us. Both vehicles that I could get in, and obviously the Tesla could drive itself, but the Honda has a very good active lane keeping. It keeps the car nicely steady in the lane. You can do 100 miles on the highway and barely ever have it disable or beep at you. You can look out the window a little bit, keep looking, you can adjust things on the screen and not have it freak out. However, the EyeSight system, I've had multiple instances of it trying to kind of take an off-ramp and then come back on. I've had instances of it where I'm just adjusting my climate control and it beeps at me. An active lane keeping functionality here in 2026 should make your driving experience less stressful and an overall asset, and feel like, oh wow, this is really nice to have. Not the case here with eyesight. It's fine, but it still feels like sometimes it's more annoying than it is helpful. Coming back here static for our pros, and the first one, oh my gosh, thank goodness, you get into the cabin of this Outback and you are greeted with a plethora of physical controls. Physical buttons on the steering wheel, physical buttons for your climate control, physical volume knob, very straightforward and easy to use. So happy for that. Thank you, Subaru, for bucking this trend of trying to build everything into the screen and use touch controls. The next pro is the size of this vehicle. I think this is a perfect size for so many different daily driver sort of uses. Whether it's just you primarily driving this car, whether it's two people, whether you have kids. This sort of mid-size crossover class of vehicle can, well, it's definitely small for mid-size. It's kind of a smaller mid-size, but larger compact crossover. It can accommodate so much life. So it really doesn't matter if you've got 4 people in the car. You could even fit 5 people in the car. You could put stuff in here. You could put luggage. You could put camping gear. You could put strollers. You can put groceries, a whole Costco run. I mean, this is a very, very capable and well outfitted and well thought out size and design that I think would work so well for so many different people. And it's just small enough that it doesn't feel cumbersome to drive around daily. You can fit it into parking spots, you can fit it into garages, driveways, doesn't matter. It's sweet spot of size and footprint. The next pro, as we get rolling out here, is the suspension and ride quality. Quite good. We're gonna come over some speed bumps here, and despite this not being the wilderness or anything like that, the combination of the suspension tuning and the sidewall of the tires makes it so it takes these bumps well. If you've got rougher roads where you drive regularly, it's gonna absorb those bumps well. If you take the vehicle onto dirt roads or 2 tracks regularly, it's gonna support that well. And it's not only just the suspension and ride quality in general, but also the build quality that makes it so that when you go over rougher bumps like this, the cabin isn't rattling and making it sound like, I don't want to hit those bumps anymore. I feel like the car's going to fall apart. No, it's a very solid experience all around. The next pro, the fuel economy in this car. This is not a hybrid. This is not electrified in any sort of way, and it's not any crazy new fancy engine technology. This is the same 2.5 liter Boxer 4 that they use in a lot of different products. And interestingly, this Outback got 33 miles per gallon in our highway fuel economy test, which is 2 miles per gallon better than EPA, but it also is only 1 mile per gallon lower than the last Forester that we tested with the same engine, and only 1 mile per gallon lower than the Subaru Crosstrek that we tested with the same engine. So I don't know if that's saying something poor about the Crosstrek or good about the Outback, but I would argue that 33 mpg for a pretty standard engine in this car, pretty darn good. Now, some people are going to go, oh, the motor's gutless, it's underpowered, you need to get the turbo, or they need a hybrid or something. I will concede it's not fast, and I will concede that the 2.4 turbo is much quicker. However, because of the transmission in here, and because of the type of driving that you typically do in a car like this, never once throughout my week have I thought, I need more power. I just simply, if I want to get up to speed quickly, I map the accelerator, it makes more noise, and it goes forward quicker. That's how most people are going to treat this car, and I actually do feel that the power level is appropriate for this type of vehicle. I would rather get better fuel economy and have less peak power than the other way around, which is why I don't recommend the turbo, just recommend this. The only way I would say the turbo makes sense is if you're regularly transporting a lot of people and a lot of things. So you're really weighing your vehicle down, and maybe you live in a mountainous area, especially at elevation, you're going to want that extra power. But other than that, for most drivers, I would say the non-XT, the naturally aspirated, is plenty good. The last pro here for the Outback, and again, it sort of contextualizes my overall feelings of the car. Spending a week with this, and then spending a week before with the Crosstrek, I feel like this is an honest vehicle that isn't trying to pull any wool over my eyes. It feels like a good value for what I'm getting. there are elements that might not come through initially. They might not come through on a spec sheet or in a brief test drive. But when you realize that, oh, I have camera rearview mirror, I have very straightforward, easy to use controls, I have auto up-down windows all around, I've got double laminated glass here in the front, I have multiple seat back pockets. There's a sturdiness and an honesty to the build in this car that I don't feel like Subaru is trying to weasel their way into a little bit of extra profit. I feel like this car is appropriately priced. I feel like it's well built, and it's a car that I could trust. And I'm not just kind of going off of, oh, Subaru, it's made with love. No, I genuinely feel like even if I didn't know the brand of this car, after spending a week with it, there's a realness to it. And you're not getting that in every product here these days in 2026. There are plenty of cars out there that are made to essentially just last as long as the warranty lasts, and then they're going to fall apart on you. And there's little bits that are going to frustrate you very early on into the ownership experience. Not the case here with the Outback. Now, in general, I don't recommend purchasing a car in the very first model year of a generation. So technically speaking, I would say this Outback is great. Wait until the 2027 model, because every brand is going to have little bugs and tweaks that they're going to refine for the second model year. So maybe hold off. Subaru's not going to want me to tell you that. Subaru's going to want me to tell you to rush out and buy one right now. But I can tell you, I like this Outback much more than the previous Outback. And I can tell you that if you're interested in one, you should buy one in 2027. But before we wrap up, we got to put it on the Daily Motor Leaderboard. One point I forgot to make about kind of an honest brand and an honest sales strategy here. Every color on the Outback offered here in the touring model is included in the cost of the vehicle. There's only one color that isn't, and it's one of the greens, I think, this kind of grayish green color, and it's only an extra $350. Again, compared to that GMC Acadia that we test drove a few months back, you could only get that car in one color included in the cost. Every other color cost at least $500. So again, right there, you can see Subaru wants you to enjoy your vehicle and wants you to be happy with your purchase. So they're going to let you pick out a color without charging you more. I appreciate that. Small DM leaderboard right now because it is the start of the new year, but compared to the Subaru Crosstrek and the Nissan Sentra, this is going above them. It really is. Right here, first place, at least for now, on the DM leaderboard. The Crosstrek is cool, and I like it, but the Outback, to me, makes a lot more sense for how much more car you're getting for the price point. Yes, this one's $47,000, whereas the fully loaded Crosstrek hybrid that we drove was $38,000. But this one has more features, more usability, more capability, probably. Just about the same fuel economy. Obviously, in the city, the hybrid's going to be better. But overall, I enjoyed this vehicle quite a bit more, and you can get it for down in the mid to upper 30s, which I would say go for it. So thank you all so much for watching. If you do want to see more on the new Outback, check the link below, and we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.